This is To the Front. Tools for today's top agents.
All right, welcome back. Episode number 3 of To the Front. Now, the whole goal of this podcast or video cast, I don't know if that's the right word, wherever you're catching this at, the whole goal is, like we say, not to be salesy. We want to introduce to you some of the best tools that we found over serving 8 years of captive agents, right? And even if you're not in insurance, some of the things that you're going to hear could transform your business. So if you've stumbled across this and you sell cars or printing or whatever you sell, this is going to help. And so we've been working on this podcast for 6 months. And when I started dreaming about who I wanted to bring on, this name kept coming up, Coulter Johnson, right? Coulter's helping my team. And I was like, who's Coulter? So I met Coulter at some events and found out really quickly why people want to bring him on, man. So we are excited to introduce our guest, Coulter Johnson. Coulter, welcome, brother. How's it going?
It's going great. Pleasure to be on the podcast. It's a great time.
It's a great time. And Coulter hails out of Utah, right? So cold Utah morning.
It is. It's getting real cold. Not ready, but hibernation season, we can get a lot of work done, I guess.
That's right. That's right. I'm telling you, man, we're all shut up and stuff. And hey, just as a reminder to everybody, the podcast is, 8 to 15 to 20 minute segments, depending how long the conversation goes. We might break this up into 2 parts for our listeners, because the goal of this is for you to be able to put something in your agency that you can use today, right? And so I want to introduce Coulter in a more formal sense, because guys, you're not going to believe what kind of a team member Coulter was. So Coulter was a team member for years at a captive agency, never an agent. That's right, Coulter. Never an agent. Decided, man, I just wanted to crush it as a team member. And listen to these stats. Coulter consistently wrote 200 life apps. 200. That's unbelievable. With $100,000 in annual premium, he would do like 100 health apps a year, and that's with $20,000 of annual premium and probably more PNC than you can even count. And so what happened? Coulter said, "I want to be a gracious person, a generous person," who started to train and speak at almost every event I was going to. Coulter, you were there speaking about from a team member side. Here's what we're thinking. Here's how you can equip and train your team members. So about a year ago, Coulter took an organization that he had already created called Team Member Perspective and started to devote full time to that. So that's what brings Coulter here. He's been doing it now for quite some time, helping agents and team members all over the country. And Coulter, why I wanted to bring you on was that there are so many tools to help agents, right? And it's typically from an agent's perspective, but what makes team member perspective so powerful and why I wanted to have you on is because it's from the team member's perspective, someone who's not sat in the agent seat. And my guess is you could have been an agent, no problem. You probably got asked 100 times. You would have been probably a top performing agent, but sounds like that wasn't your heartbeat, right? That wasn't who you wanted to be. Is that right?
Yeah. I was ready to rock and roll. Like that was the next step for me. And it was in the plan. And when I started to get consistent with my production, I started having people reach out and they're like, train us. And I was like,
yeah,
what's there to train on? Just talk to more people. That was my mindset early on.
Yeah.
And, I just kept getting messages and people were asking. I was like, okay, like let's try this thing out. Ended up doing some coaching, one-on-one coaching, not even knowing if my processes and what I'd created for myself and that structure for myself could be repeated. Just because I hadn't done it yet, I was like, let's just see if it will work. And here we are. It's
Boom.
The feedback I've gotten is it's brought structure to agency. It's brought structure to the team member role and has given them, kind of recipes to go out and replicate that same type of production, which has been fun.
Huge.
So
absolutely, that's exactly what I hear from agents when I bring up your name. That's exactly what they're experiencing with team member perspective. And later on in the show, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I want to get to the tool for today, which if you're an agent or if you own any business, this is probably I'm getting ready to throw the topic out, and I bet when I say this, it's going to hit you at the heart. Here's the topic. Are you ready? How do you create team members that don't want to leave? Team members that don't want to leave. Like I say, I'm not an agent. Coulter, we're in the same bucket there, right? But I've never even been a team member. But, for those of you that don't know me, I lead a company called Front Runner. We're a platform that helps captive agents track what they do every day and helps agents save a ton of time. But what I do is I have thousands of agents and team members that I see their data and their numbers every day, and I talk to them every day. And one of the things I get, Coulter, is, Adam, I can't find any good team members. Like I just can't find ones that stick around. They always want to leave. And, I've been through 30 team members in the last 3 years. And how do I get ones that don't want to leave? And so, I want to ask you, because I know all you do is work with team members. Why do you think there's so much turnover in agencies? Why is that? Why is it that agencies have to bring on services that are constantly interviewing and constantly hiring just because they know that their door's kind of a revolving type thing in their agency? So why is that, do you think, man?
Yeah, I think there could be a handful of different reasons, which is why I think it becomes frustrating and it's hard. Such a big pain point, because it does happen. It's happening in this industry where we get a team member in and then that team member doesn't stick around very long. It's happening. And so over my time, interacting with team members, interacting with even agents, this is a story that I hear. And, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. But from my perspective, here are a few things that I feel like might be why this is the case. Okay. I think first and foremost, we treat the team member role, both us team members, but also agents, we treat it as a job rather than an opportunity. It wasn't really something that I really understood until I was in door-to-door sales before I got into insurance, which allowed me to learn a lot of sales and just being like really this cool little area where I could go out and test my skills and figure out and kind of, develop more skills. It was 100% commission. I wasn't making money if I didn't sell. And so I found success doing that for a couple of years, and then I get into insurance in a role where I was making base, but I also had a commission. And so I understood the power of being in a role where there's commission. Yeah. And prior to being in door-to-door sales, prior to even having a commission experience, I was just 9 to 5. And I remember being 9 to 5 thinking like, man, this is so unfulfilling. No matter how good I do, how much value I bring, or maybe even how poor I do, I'm getting paid the same amount of money. That was so fulfilling for me. But then when I experienced it in door to door, I was like, this is crazy. This is really an opportunity. But like, I've got to make it happen, right? And then I get into insurance and I had that commission structure, or just had the opportunity to make a commission, which for me was like an opportunity. And so from day one, that's how I viewed my role. And I think my agent played a big role in this, in that he always talked to me about it as an opportunity. For me as a team member, because I was thinking about it as an opportunity, I was treating it like my own little business, right? I was figuring out how to be very efficient, very effective with all the interactions that I could have with people. Like, let's create sales opportunities from those, right? So I think first and foremost, Adam, I think it's thought about too much as a job in the way that we talk about it with our teams, in the way that, our teams are talking about it. Then it's not thought about and talked about enough in terms of an opportunity like it truly can be.
That's huge. I mean, the change in mindset, right? Not every person might not be an entrepreneur, right? Not every person might not want to carry the burden of owning an agency or owning a business, right? But they also don't want to feel like they're locked into a room and they have a ceiling. So, dude, that's powerful. Think about it as you pitch and as you talk to your team, you're saying position as an opportunity, not as a job.
Exactly.
That first thing right there can start changing the feel of it.
Exactly. And then I think it's like the follow through of actually treating it like an opportunity as a team member, but also treating it like an opportunity as an agent, right? Meaning if I'm an agency owner, there's some things that I think should be in place that will allow for this to actually happen and work for our teams and for our agencies. Number one, I think like the commission, right? Like, is the commission structure incentivizing enough for your team, right? We're not going to get into specifics of that, but that is one thing. Like, I understood my commission. And I think that's another piece to the commission. What I find is most agents don't fully understand how they're getting paid, but even down to our team members, most team members don't fully understand how they're getting paid. One thing that my agent would do with me often, which agents, if you're not doing this, you might want to, because it was so powerful for me as a team member. He would meet with me after, at the first of the month, and we would review my last month's commission. Wow. We would look at the pay structure and he would say, okay, hey, here's what you did and here's a commission you made, but look at all this money that was left on the table. He'd circle that number. And then he would teach me what I could do, where I could go to actually tap into more of that commission.
Wow.
Right. And so it was powerful for me to kind of see it on my individual level of like, this is what you left on the table. And now I know what I need to be doing, what I need to be focusing on to maximize my compensation. So all of a sudden it's an opportunity. And then the last thing I'll say is I think for it to truly be an opportunity, it needs to be treated like a business, right? Team members have this business under the umbrella of the business without the risk. But if you're treating it like that, that means you're going to want to have systems and processes. You're going to want to have things that are very repeatable that you can do every day and take advantage of every interaction with your customers. You want to have those systems and processes in place so that you're like a machine. And
That's
I
right.
think it's sustainable. And all of a sudden it's like, I'm in an opportunity. I'm making really good money. The agency's doing awesome things, but like, this is also like very repeatable. I'm not getting burned, like boom. So,
wow. So what you said is that the agent that you worked for, would it be fair to say that they took an active role in your success? Is that a good way to say it? That may sound cliche.
The first mentors that I felt like I had in my life that saw something in me,
Wow.
which I thought was really cool. Like that's the power of like being an agent is you get to take these people under your wing, help them think bigger, and truly give them like this place where they can go out and develop and grow as a human being and professionally and make a lot of money in the meantime and find a lot of fulfillment doing it. And that was the agent. That was the role that he played in my life. Was an incredible mentor. I'm very grateful for, and will always be grateful for that.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is maybe to start changing the culture of your agency, maybe to keep your team members around. Again, this is not just for insurance. It could be for any business. I say this a lot. I say this in the businesses that I get to lead because I've got some other things other than front runner. I've got some print shops. I actually own an ice cream shop, Coulter. I don't know if I told you that. I've got like a bourbon ice. It's crazy. I don't know why, but it's fun.
I'm going to go come get some ice cream.
Let's go. I wish I could give it to you digitally here.
Dude, no kidding. I'm ready.
Yeah, but one of the things that I'm hearing from you and that I think plays into this is that we start to treat people like people and not commodities. Is that people are not a ways to an end for your success. That your team members are people with hopes and dreams. And tell me if I'm hearing this right. If you start to take an active role in their development, which means you're going to carve that time out each month, whether you're talking about their commission, their processes, you're going to talk about how they can be more successful. You're going to be honing in some things. You're going to be finding opportunities to praise them, that you're going to be building into them. They're not going to feel like a commodity, and they're going to start seeing you as a mentor. They're going to start seeing you as someone that they're saying, dude, I can't leave. Why can't I leave? Because I wouldn't be next to him or her. Right. And if I leave, then I don't have access to this mentor. And every day when I show up in the office, I feel like I'm being empowered. I don't feel like I'm just, slanging apps, or just making the smile and dials. I'm like leaving better than when I came in. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's more like being around someone that will cause you to think bigger and will focus on possibility and not problem, and will focus and choose optimism, even in a world that is so easy to be negative in. That is so overlooked, so underappreciated. Like you naturally want to be around that like, if I leave here, but you want to have those people in your life. And I think that's the cool thing with this opportunity. It's a vehicle for agency owners to be that person for their people. And I think it becomes a more fulfilling role, but it also trickles down to your team and they have a more fulfilling role, which I think allows them to stick around longer. Right. But it's the people. We're in the people business, no matter what we're doing. Right.
And I have to assume that the agent that you worked for probably didn't have a lot of turnover. Now, again, some turnovers inevitable, right? There's things that you can't control. Life changes, people moving, just an opportunity that you can't match, that kind of thing, right? But my assumption is that the agent that you work for probably had lower turnover than others. So I want to ask you about something that you brought up. And I know you said you didn't want to get super into it, but when we're talking about team members that don't want to leave, definitely step one is we start changing the culture a little bit. We start seeing it as what you said as an opportunity, right? And everything you present to them is that, no, it's not that, yes, you're my employee, but no, this is an opportunity. This is like your business. You can make as much money as you want, which leads me to my point. At some ways, it's still about the money on some levels, right? I mean, at some levels, they want to make money. They want to be able to build a career. And you and I both know there's big differences in making money and building a career. two different things, right? So you mentioned the compensation plan, and obviously I'm really interested in compensation plans. That's part of what Frontrunner does. It helps people track that and calculate that. And can you say that, was there something in your commission plan? Like if I'm an agent listening right now and I'm like, man, my commission plan doesn't really inspire my team very much. Is there something as a team member, when you look back at your compensation plan, that was really attractive, that made you want to go after things? Was there a component in that plan that made you want to go after it?
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, I was compensated well for financial services, which I think was kudos to my agent for understanding how the overall agency revenue works and how much of a factor that plays into it, that it was always top of mind. It was always something that, we knew that we could basically make some good money in, right? But also help the agency in a big way and help other people. So that was big. I find that I work with a lot of team members and agencies where it hasn't been talked about, it hasn't been top of mind. And so how do we expect our teams to go out and do it and want to make this money when it's not talked about, right?
Yeah.
But I also think having some sort of tier structure to where based on like, oh, if I do this many to this many, then I'll get this percentage of commission, and having a structure to where almost the more that you sell, the higher of a percentage you get. And I think also one thing that sounds very, very simple, very, very elementary that I think every agency should be doing is like, if you want your team members to sell premium, compensate them for premium.
Wow.
I've rented agencies where it's like you want them to sell premium, but you're paying them per application, a flat rate.
Yeah.
So what's the incentive for me to write a $20 policy versus a $2,000 policy? There's not much.
And probably it's a lot easier to write some of the lower premium policies.
Oh, absolutely.
On certain things, right? Those are more maybe turn and burn type things versus going out and working really hard on that life case.
The way our commission structure is set up, I think also plays a role into how we're selling people. Because I think that's very important. Right. Yeah. If I'm only getting paid $100, let's say $100 an application, I would probably go for the easiest ones to sell, probably the $20, and just sell them and leave them alone. And because there's what's the point of me helping them maybe get more coverage? Like, I think it kind of incentivizes me in the wrong way as a team member to kind of gamify it without taking and keeping the customer first.
Yeah.
Right. But I think having that structure where it's like, I can be compensated on premium. It's like, in order for premium to happen for the agency, there's got to be some sort of a relationship. There's got to be some sort of a, more in-depth conversation, right? It can't just be one and done, right? The premium comes when you foster that relationship and you educate and you hold these review appointments with people. That's where the premium comes. But if that's not incentivized in the commission structure, I probably wouldn't do it. And all of a sudden, we're selling maybe not as good of business as we could.
It sounds like people do what they're incentivized to do, what they're rewarded to do. And when push comes to shove, sometimes, we're humans, and we often will take the path of least resistance when it comes to bonus and commission, right? Like if I'm getting paid $100 an app, $50 an app, whatever it is, I don't care what that app is. I'm just going to try to get as many as I can versus like what you said, let's have the full conversation. Let's have the reviews, because that premium typically follows, right? It's almost like some people, there's that common term, that loss leader, whatever. I'm sure every agency's got a loss leader, right? It's the policy. It's the thing that everybody can sell, that it's really super easy. But it's when that loss leader becomes like the only thing you're selling, is when, team members are de-incentivized and you just have your constant revolving door, versus like what you said, give them a clear picture of what you want them to go after, craft a commission plan that incentivizes them to go after that. So if you want to grow premium, commission on premium. If you want to grow app count, then start commissioning on app count, and then incentivize, obviously based on financial services, because for some companies, they are certainly compensated more for that. So, okay. So what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong anytime, I've never sat in your seat, but what I'm hearing is, number one, if you want to have team members that don't want to leave, got to help them to see it not as a job, but more as an opportunity. Two, we want to craft a commission plan that's exciting, it's enticing, it makes them want to come back for more. But let me ask you this, because you're working with team members every day. In terms of team member retention, how much does training come involved? Like, the more a team member is trained, the more that they'll be sticky to the agency. Does that kind of make sense? Is that true? Is that false? What do you see every day as you and your team train team members?
Yeah, it's 1000% true. I
Okay.
believe in that. I believe in it because that's the experience I went through with each of my sales roles when I was in door to door. We trained every single day, right? We practiced every single day.
Wow. So even your tenured team members did that?
Yeah, so this was when I was
Wow.
in door to door, we did that. But then even in agency
Okay.
with when I was a team member, my agent, he made training a priority,
Mhm.
right? And so we would train every day. And whether it wasn't like an organized meeting, like in the morning, 8:30 to 9, whether it was that, it was, well, me and my sales guys, we would get together for 5-10 minutes and we would train. We do a little bit of role play together. But training is something that I believe is so, so important, right? I train every day still because I'm always learning. There's always new things for me. I'm always thinking, how can I make this a little bit better? How can I make
Yeah.
this a little bit easier for myself? Easier for other people. But I think like if we've got the opportunity, we've got the commission structure, now it's time to teach them how to actually execute on it to win.
Right.
And I think the training, what I've realized coming from like a different sales industry where we trained on sales, we trained on persuasion, we trained on objections, we trained on, that in our sales training, to come to an industry where it's all we seem to want to talk about is systems and processes. What's the exact word track I should be using? Which is great, but we're missing the boat with sales and persuasion training. We're in the
Yeah.
people business. We're not in the insurance business. The more that
Boom.
we understand our products doesn't mean the more we're going to sell. That is one thing that I see happen is like product training. All these team members and agents are like, are we going to do product training? I'm like, no, because this product training, you guys have access to all these resources and it is only like 10 minutes a morning for like a month away from you knowing about the product.
Yeah.
What we're going to teach you to do is to understand your prospect, your customer, because that's when, the more you understand about people, the easier it is to help them, which that's what sales is. But I
Yeah.
found that there was this big like missing gap of why I found so much success was because I understood sales. I had a sales acumen, right? But I think outside of sales acumen, systems and processes are also very important. But I think what I run into is systems and processes a lot of the times are very high level. They're complex. They're not simplified. And so it's hard for this new team member with no insurance experience or sales experience to plug in and actually follow it and be able to replicate it because it's so
Wow.
complex. And so sales acumen needs to be there, but also these systems and processes, they need to be simple, very,
Yeah.
very simple, so that the brand new team member with no sales experience, no insurance experience can come in, plug in and do it. But also our tenured team members can do the same thing. So training is important, but I think doing and having the right things in your training is also just as important.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You hit on something that is big to me is that simplicity. I don't know why it is. I don't know why, but it's like sometimes agents just make things too hard. Like their commission plan's so difficult, it's hard to understand that the team member can't repeat it. Or, hey, we've got all these systems and processes in our office, but I don't know. I don't know. Dude, a home run. Like simple, simple. In fact, I will say this, I can almost tell you the amount of years an agent has under his belt based upon how simple their commission plan is. The older that they get, the more tenure, the more mature, the more that they make things simple. Why? It's because they figured out that that's what works, right? Like the more complex I get, the more my team gets confused and then can't execute what I'm asking. Why? Because we thrive on clarity. Team members, all of us, we thrive on clarity in our business. We thrive on clarity in our marriages and our relationships. We thrive on clarity with, doggone it, what am I going to order at the restaurant tonight? If I don't know what that is, I'm probably not going to order it. Same is true in our businesses, right? Same is true in our agencies. Man, powerful stuff. So training has got a lot to do with keeping that team member in the door, right? If they feel equipped, because I would have to assume, would you agree that some team members just leave because they don't really know what they're doing and then they don't want to admit it?
Yes. And because of that, they're not making money like
Yeah.
they were told they were going to make because they just don't know how to do it. And it's no one's fault. Like, and I think the other thing too is like, we got to give our agents some more grace. Like, they're just trying to figure it out too.
Yeah, sure.
Like, we always think, and this was a mindset that I had, like, oh, the agent that I was working for, like, oh my gosh, like you're just a different breed, man. Like, I'm hoping that I can get there one day, like, but I don't think I'm going to. But what I'm realizing now as I've taken steps and leaps in my career is like, I don't know that we ever know 100%, right? We're trying to figure it out. But yeah, I think that it's just like, we don't know what we don't know. But I mean, think about it this way, is like, if our training, let's say it's a puzzle, and it's a 1,000-piece puzzle, how long would that take a team member to put together? Well, who knows? It's kind of more complex. What if we just simplified that down to like a 10-piece puzzle? Right now, which one's more repeatable? Like, understanding that turnover is going to kind of happen. Like, these are some things that can hopefully help prevent that and have people stick around longer, because that can happen for you. But you know, when it does happen, we want our team members to plug in and try to just put this 1,000-piece puzzle together, you know, in hopes that they don't get frustrated, in hopes that they can figure it out and do it quickly, in hopes they can get it all put together? Or do we want to give them something that's more simple, that we know, you know, like, we can execute on this?
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Boy, that is digital gold right there, Coulter. I think if you missed everything in the podcast, don't miss that. Man, that's in fact, that puzzle illustration, I'm going to steal it and not give you credit. You just need to know that. Okay. It's not because I don't love you. It's just I'm going to forget who said it.
I'm going to troll you though. You'll see me comment and I'll say, nice one.
Yeah. And you'll be like, huh, where'd you hear that, Adam? I don't know. It's not somebody famous said it. I don't know. All right. Hey, so here's the tool. Team member perspective. If what you're hearing resonates, you need to think about team member perspective for your agency. So Coulter, can you give us a flyover? What does team member perspective do when it talks about retaining a team member, training team members? Give us a flyover of what you and your organization does. And then we're going to throw up some ways that they can get in contact with you and get this process started.
Good deal. I appreciate that. Yeah. So we help team members sell more insurance, specifically our financial service products, our life insurance, our health insurance products. And the way that we do that is we provide structure. We teach our agency financial service system. It's a blueprint to selling life and health insurance at a high level. And we teach them this system to take advantage and create these opportunities from the everyday new business that we're writing, with the everyday service calls and transactions that we're getting in our agencies, working and farming our book of business, as well as review appointments. We bring that structure in and we teach specific sales processes of how to create life and health opportunities, how to write life and health insurance from the everyday transactions happening in our agency. And we teach this system, these processes, coupled with sales acumen, sales persuasion, helping team members develop sales skills, develop communication skills, so they can go out and sell more. So that's a kind of a big flyover of what we do.
And so you're saying that what team member perspective is that you don't need to reinvent the wheel, agent.
Exactly.
You know, engage us, and we're going to help your team to grasp on, to understand these processes that you can implement wherever you're at, and to get results that are elevated from what they're currently experiencing. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And if we get more granular, like service, how many added or replaced vehicles are you guys getting in your agencies every month? Common number I hear, maybe like 30. Okay. Now, what percentage of those 30 would have a loan on them? Well, maybe like 80%. It's probably what I hear, right? Yeah. Right there, we've got 24 at-bats to run one process in our system to write life and disability for these people for the loans on their vehicles, right?
Gosh, huge.
So that's just one simple process within that of many that we teach on. But we, like I said, for it to be repeated, and this is what I had to learn, Adam, going from selling to now teaching people how to sell, was that I could take kind of a concept and a strategy and kind of execute on it without like a very laid out process. It's kind of how I work. But what I've realized is in teaching people, in order for them to repeat it and replicate it, it needs to be really, really simplified to where it's like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 for them to have what they need to go out and take action, right?
Yeah.
How do I get into this conversation in a way where I can prevent objections? What does that pivot sound like? What does my presentation sound like where I can build value? Help Adam really understand the exposure here. Help him understand the solution to that and the benefits of going through that. And how can I move that to delivering a quote to him? Like down to all of that is how we kind of teach these processes to the team so they can go out and replicate it themselves.
Wow. And is that over videos, webinars, pre-made training materials? Is it kind of a combination of that?
It's kind of a combination of that. Every single Wednesday and Friday, we do our live calls. Fridays, we train on a process from pivot to close, get into those details. And then on Wednesdays, we do more of an implementation, practice, role play, live practice scenarios. Team members bring their questions, their bottlenecks, their objections, and we just really focus on implementation and practice on Wednesdays. Man, so huge. We do those live calls, and then we've got a library of on-demand that agencies can plug into as well. Hey, listen, if you're joining us on YouTube, obviously you're going to see this URL right below. If you're listening here, I'm going to tell you what it is. Agents, listen, I don't say this a lot. This is a tool that you need. This is something that you need to put in your agency. And listen, I don't suggest tools that I don't love. I don't bring on tools that I wouldn't suggest on this podcast. This is one. Go to, and again, if you're listening to this, it's sales, SALES .tmperspective.com. Again, that's sales.tmperspective.com. That's going to be able to place where you can get started. You can even just go to Google, type it in, team member perspective. Hey, you probably go to Google and just type in Coulter Johnson. It's going to come right up. And yeah, he and his team are going to start walking you through that journey, finding and creating and loving on team members that don't want to leave. So again, that's sales.tmemberperspective.com. Boy, we've been joined by Coulter Johnson. Coulter, man, thank you, dude. Thanks for being on. Thanks for having me.
Man, appreciate it. I know that what you do is a labor of love, right? You could have stayed in an agency and just made money hand over fist and stuff. But man, this generosity of saying, man, I want to spend my life helping team members is really special. And quite frankly, I don't really know of any other team members helping team members like this, man. So man, thanks again. Any final words for us that you can say to an agent that they just need to implement, they need to do it, or nah, man, I've said it all.
Create an opportunity for your people, incentivize them with that opportunity, and get them trained, whether you do it or you have someone else do it.
That's what I would end on right there. Coulter, thanks so much, man. Appreciate you being on. Until next time, we'll see you on the next episode of To the Front. Take care, everybody.